Welcome back, everyone. Staring from Staring Gaming here. Today we're running part 1 of the Hellfire Citadel, which is known as Hellbreach. This first wing has 3 bosses. The first 2 is actually in this area, and then the next one's off in a little bit of a wing. But to actually get this boss fight started, you pretty much got to kill all the ads here. So we're going to get right on to that.
Stand, proud warriors!
I don't have a target.
Our enemies march upon the foot of this mighty citadel. Be on guard.
I'm out of range. I can't attack that target. It's too far away.
You! Check on the citadel's defenses!
Reporting for duty!
Inspect our defenses now! Ready to go.
Attack!
Move out!
Now, once this phase happens where they send ads up to these cannons, once you kill these ads, you'll be able to initiate the boss fight. But back then we did clear all the ads, because this fight's actually pretty mob heavy. Especially because I have it on Mythic, so it was pretty chaotic back then. Nowadays, if you're max level, you can just easily do it as long as you pay attention.
I see we have visitors. To arms!
As here, the first boss is known as the Hellfire Assault, where you use these cannons to breach the gate. But you also need to protect the cannons, because if one gets destroyed, well, if one of them gets destroyed, your whole party wipes. Because the cannon will explode, killing everyone. Now, as you see, upon the encounter, you commandeer them. And you'll need Hellfire munitions, which gets dropped by the siege vehicles that will come periodic through the fight. Now, if someone needs to pick this up, they'll get a speed boost, and they need to run it up to the cannon, but you will be taking fire damage while you carry them. Now, the Siege Master here is actually only going to be in this fight until you knock her HP down to a certain amount, but she has abilities basically like of a warrior. Howling Axe, which she hurls an axe at the target, doing that strikes all marked targets before returning to her. And upon impact, it does nature damage to all enemies within 8 yards of the target. She has Shockwave, which attacks in a cone in front of her, knocking back any players and causing nature damage. She also has the Fiery Presence, which boosts the damage done by anyone near her by 10%. And it will actually increase while she fights, so you need to burn her down fast. Now for Hellfire reinforcements here, you got the regular Iron Dragoons, which are more or less melee. You can burn them down fast. The Hawking Berserker you need to take down ASAP. One, because he has a slam that does physical damage, increases physical damage taken by 12 seconds, which can stack. It also has a roar, or what's called Cower, that reduces movement speed, does physical damage, and bypass all armor. Now the Gorefell Fellcasters need to interrupt their abilities. Incinerates, fire damage, Firebolt Volley, here's fire damage again to everyone. And Metamorphosis is something you need to burn them down before they get the cast, because they'll transform into a demon, which will increase their damage by 50 and their movement speed by 100 and makes them immune to crowd control. And while they're Gorebound Tailor, their Hellfire Volley actually gets a bit of a damage boost. The Engineer here, get him down, just gotta be aware of his bombs, which he'll set this at a target's foot, doing fire damage within 5 yards for short bound damage. He also can heal, which is his repair, every half second for 2% of their health. And Conducted Shock Pulse, which should be interrupted, which will shock a target, doing nature damage and stunning the target for 9 seconds. And this will jump up to 3 additional targets. And since we're on Mythic, we have 2 additional adds here. Groot, Grand Corruptor Ugra. The Grand Corruptor here has Corruption Nova, which spews corruption doing shadow damage to all enemies within 2 yards of the impact point. He'll hurl corruption at a target doing shadow damage, and Corruption Siphon, which will corrupt the soul, draining all but a server of the house, healing the caster percent, and he absorbs any healing equal to the drained health for 15 seconds. Now, Groot here has Cannonball, which he basically launches himself. He does physical damage within 9 yards of the targeted location. Shockwave, which does the damage in front of him in a cone style, does nature damage and knocks back targets on impact. Cower, which I already explained that same ability, and Slam just like the other one. Now the vehicles you'll have to destroy in order to get your Hellfire munitions. All these abilities are easily avoidable. Now the Crusher here, just don't stand in front of it, attack from the side and the back. The Flame Belcher, same thing, side and the back. The Artillery, side and the back. More or less these, just attack them from the side or the back. Now the Transporter you get here on Mythic. You need to destroy these ASAP because they'll just keep spawning mobs on you until they're destroyed. We're going to get into the fight, so I'll show you how it's done.
So, you wish to test the might of the Fel? I'll be back!
I believe you have to knock her down to 50% of her health to get her to retreat. As you can see, the cannons are now shooting out the ads, so we'll try to go destroy the cannon. And on Mythic, you need to be aware of everything, because it's going to be coming at you from everywhere.
Charge! Attack! Cannons on the way!
Like I say, you're gonna get bombarded by a lot of stuff here. You gotta pay attention to what's going on this whole time. Now you see, destroy one.
Destroy them!
It gains his munitions, and as you
Burn
see,
them to the ground!
they just start showing up out of everywhere. The cannons
Coming
are gonna
in
take
hot.
damage if you're not careful. You want to keep the ads off.
Fire in the hole!
Now you can see the cannon's actually taking some damage here. I can rush back over there, but unfortunately you're unable to heal the damage it takes. And as you see, the ads are running up to try to destroy it, so I gotta get over there fast.
Destruction! Strike them down! Coming in hot! Fire in the hole! Cannons on the way!
As you see, once the gate's destroyed, you actually win this fight.
Blitz!
You just need to have one more shot and I'll have this one.
Send in the crusher! You want something done?
See, that was
right?
transport
Do
coming
it
with a bunch of
yourself.
troops. Now your chest is back here. Now as you see, the next boss is slowly walking up here.
The might and invention of the fell horde! The fury of Hellfire itself! Behold!
Also, we learned that everyone needs to stand back at the chest until this boss is out, because as you see, if you're standing in where she fires, you're going to get either killed or knocked back pretty far. And you don't want to stand underneath her too. Now this is the Iron Reaver. Has two phases, one ground and one air. And as you see, has an energy bar. Now when that bar hits 100, it goes to air operations, and when that bar runs out, it's back on ground. Now while during ground, it has emoliation, which sticks a fire patch on the ground that does fire damage for 9 seconds, and it can stack. You don't want to stand in that, more or less. Artillery, something tank needs to be aware of, is to fire a shell at the target, and depending on the distance from the impact point, is how much damage you'll take. Unstable Orb burns all targets within 8 yards for fire damage in every second, but this will stack. Barrage fires superheated shells in a frontal cone, doing fire damage to all enemies within 5 yards of the impact point. Pounding, where she just slams the ground, every half second for 6 seconds you take damage. Blitz, you charge basically in a direction, grabbing all enemies in her path, and you'll be silenced and pacified with movement. Being struck by it makes you take fire damage, plus an additional fire damage every half second for 15 seconds, and it can stack. So you need to be aware of this ability specifically, because this is used to, back in my experience, this is what wiped groups. And since we're on Mythic, she has an additional ability known as Firebomb, which will launch this at a target's location, doing fire damage to all enemies within impact, creating a firebomb, which is a volatile firebomb, which detonates if it's not defeated within 25 seconds, inflicting all fire damage to all players and increasing the damage they take from it by 50% for 30 seconds. But this also stacks, which knocks away nearby immolation patches. So now, after her bar hits 100 and she goes up into the air, she still has immolation, she still has her artillery ability, she still has her firebomb ability, which now, on Mythic, has some additional abilities while she's in the air, which is a quick fuse firebomb, which it's a quick fuse firebomb, was detonated if not destroyed in 12 seconds, which increases takes fire damage to all players, increasing the damage they take from it for 30 seconds. She then also has a burning firebomb, which attacks against this will inflict flame vulnerability, which makes you take additional fire damage for 6 seconds, and it will stack. If it detonates, if it's not defeated in 40 seconds, it inflicts fire damage to all enemies. It makes them take a decreased damage from it for 30 seconds, which it can stack. Now she has a reactive firebomb. Now if you leap on top of it to destroy it, but you take some massive physical damage. It'll detonate in 30 seconds and inflict fire damage to all enemies. And as usual, it makes you take increased damage from it, and which will stack. Now she also has the reinforced. Now this won't detonate for a minute 30. I guess 1.3 would be roughly a minute 28 seconds. You have to destroy it. Takes, if you don't, fire damage, and you take a stacking buff. Now she has fuel streak, which will coat the ground with fuel, reduces movement speed for 5 seconds. Now, if immolation happens to be touching this, it ignites the whole thing, and well, you're going to take some fire damage. Now this is her deadly ability known as Falling Slam, which earlier you saw there's a little ring underneath her that's brown. do not stand in that or you're pretty much dead. Because you'll take nature damage, and if you survive, you'll get knocked back, and people who are not underneath there will just take minor damage. Now, Energized Fist, after each successful falling slam, increases damage she does by pounding the ground by 25%. So, let's get right into it.
I warned you!
So, I might end up defeating her due to my Holy Shield before you get to see her other abilities, but we'll see.
Tick-tock! The clock is ticking!
Now, there's your volatile firebombs. There's Barrage. As you can see, I'm marked, so this is when the other tank would taunt while I run away. Here's your emoliation patches.
The ground trembles!
There's their little shockwave attack. Now, as you can see, because I didn't destroy them, I took 5 stacks of this, which makes you take 250 more damage. But I heal pretty well, so I'm not going to worry about this fight. Like I said, she's probably going to get defeated before you get a chance to see her air phase, unfortunately. But this is what generally you get to see in the fight.
Burn, burn, burn! Incoming!
And there was her Blitz ability.
Eject! Eject!
The Citadel is breached! Gul'dan is within! I will establish a foothold here. Press forward!
Now you actually can pick up a quest from Khadgar here, which, depending on what difficulty you're in, since I'm on Mythic, they'll give me the Mythic version of this, which requires me to collect 4 Soul Remains from Gorfiend. Which pretty much gives me, like, if I have this, I can cheat my way through this area, and I can go do certain areas ahead of time. Or go, I believe you can just go right to the last boss. I'm not sure yet. I had never actually completed this quest yet, and I never asked anyone about it. But we're going to head off to the last boss here in this wing. Now, these ads can be pretty heavy. Back then, because looking for raid, we used to just pull them all. But back then, when we ran normal, heroic, or mythic,
need to target something
we went group by group because it wasn't called Hellfire Citadel for a reason. It was pretty intense if you ended up pulling a little too much. Now you can pull all these ads here. They're pretty weak. Now, as you can see, there's actually rogues hidden in this area, so flare and any of stealth detecting abilities would be greatly used here. As you can see, you can get stunned by these little suckers here. And they're all around here, so you never know when they're going to pop up. Now we're heading to the last boss here of the wing, known as Cromrock. Now to actually get this boss initiated, you're going to have to kill all the ads in this area. And as you see, these pools here are actually going to be playing a part in the boss fight.
It's too far away. I need a target.
Now, before I get everything started here, we're going to go over his ability. Now, his leap ability, he'll leap through the air and splash down into one of these pools here. Especially on Mythic, when he jumps in there, the liquid leaves the pool, hitting the ground, leaving behind the residue will damage anyone who stands in it. Now, you can absorb the initial splashes, actually avoid having any of these puddles hit the ground. But, If he jumps into there, he gets shadow energy here. The orange will be his explosive energy, and the green will be his foul energy. Now his pound, which he'll slam the ground repeatedly, creates shockwaves under all players, doing physical damage to all enemies within 4 yards every second. Now his ability here is Fell Outpouring. When he slams the ground, he'll cause a shadowy pool to spew forward globules, which if you're caught in the pathway of these little globules, you'll take shadow damage. Now when he's empowered, all this ability will send out 3 waves of these globules you'll have to dodge. Now the explosive runes, which he'll trigger these on the ground, if they aren't triggered within 15 seconds, they explode, doing damage to all players. Now if you trigger the rune, it will result in a smaller explosion, which will do fire damage to the person who triggered it. Now, while he's empowered, triggering these will cause them to try and reform nearby. These will not reform on top of an existing rune, nor they will reform if they're the last one active. So basically, Mythic here, when he's empowered, you need to destroy all of them at the same time before they try to renew themselves. Now, Grasping Hands, he'll summon stone structures underneath the feet of his enemies, which does physical damage, and these hands will hold them in place until they're killed. Now, while you're held by these, you take physical damage every 3 seconds. Now, while he's empowered, these will pull players towards the closest pools to drag them in order to take them massive damage. Now, Mutating Hatred, these are abilities he uses against the current tank depending on what the last pool he leaped into. Now, getting hit with any of these will give the person, the tanky, Fell Touch, which increases their magic damage they take by 50%. Now, if he's in the Shadow Pool, he'll knock the target backwards, doing shadow damage, and when they land, they suffer damage proportional to the distance they traveled. Which, after that, they get the Fell Touch debuff. Now, the Explosive Burst is he'll ignite the ground underneath the feet of the target and stun them, and after 10 seconds, the ground will explode, doing fire damage to all players within 30 yards. And the Foul Crutch will summon a foul hand underneath the target, and it'll be immediately grabbed, and they'll be taking physical damage every second until it's destroyed. Now he also has an Enrage, which he'll get 30% haste. This will also cause him to use his abilities much faster when he is in this phase.
I need to get closer.
All the ads are destroyed. Chrome Rock should, yep. We're just gonna taunt and try to show you some of the abilities here. As usual, my Holy Shield will probably be what kills this guy.
Destroy!
Now you see he jumps into the Shadow Pool. Now, these are the splashes you gotta be aware of on Mythic. See, I absorbed one, but look. The whole area got covered. Now here's the Fell Outpouring. You gotta dodge this or you would take shadow damage. And the globules actually have different sizes that come out of the pool. And as you see, they're spawning on Mythic from all areas. Now here are the runes you gotta be aware of. Detonating them. Ooh. Now as you can see, this stacks. activate that to give myself a heal. And as you can see, he has the shadow energy, which is now outpourings that are empowered. So when he activates this, all these pools are going to be activated. Now he's down to 2. So this is the fun part where you got to dodge all of these suckers here. Situational awareness was a big thing back here in Hellfire.
Destroy!
And you see now he's jumped into the fire pool, which now boosts his explosive runes.
Burn to ashes!
Now these runes are empowered.
Shatter!
And here is the explosive stun. The tank is stunned and can't do nothing. And once that wears off, they take some good chunk damage. So this is when the other tank would pull away the boss into another area. Currently about at least 30 yards away.
Crushed by earth! Shatter!
And avoid all of them is...
Shatter!
Now you'll know, if you notice with the boss, his torso and arm,
Escape!
and you can tell when he's still empowered with certain abilities due to his body and his debuff. But you see the swirling colors tell you when he's still empowered. Now you see the dragging hand is trying to drag me into a pool, but since I'm tanking, I get the crushing hand, which will keep me in place until it's destroyed. Now that was the first part known as Hellbreach at Hellfire Citadel. This has been Asterion from Asterion Gaming, asking you to please like and subscribe. Also go check out my Twitch channel. Working real hard to try to get that going as well. Until then, I'll see you all in the next video.